Welcome to Theo Trade. This is Don Kaufman. Here we are. It is December 28th, 2016. You are watching the Theo Night video. Now, I have come on here and I'm going to record this Theo Night video relatively early in the trading session, and it's because I see something that I have not seen since the presidential election. And I'm going to bring you kind of in on precisely what we're seeing and what it tends to mean for the marketplace. Okay, to explain this, again, we're fairly early in the trading day. I'm on Mountain Time, right? So it's just about almost 9 a.m. in the morning. The S&Ps are down about 5 right now. The Russell's down about 10. NASDAQ futures off about 20 points. Nothing huge, but there is, in fact, some sell-side activity. But that is not what stands out to me. Now I'm going to close up this left side bar. Where the market finishes today is not of an incredible importance to me. What matters to me right now, okay, is something I look at every day throughout the course of the day, and it has to do with correlation in the marketplace. Now, I'll kind of explain this in a bit of detail. What you're looking at on the screen right now is just a visual interpretation of what's up and what's down on any given day. The watch list that I've pulled up is the S&P 100. Now, a lot of times people ask, well, why not look at the S&P 500? And the reality is, well, the S&P 100, these are the 100. They're the largest market cap stocks. Okay, looking at the other 400, it's almost like wasteful at that point, because it's the S&P 100, the largest market cap, that ultimately moves the S&P 500. So to make it easier ultimately to look at the S&P, I just look at the S&P 100. Whatever the S&P, whatever these 100 stocks do, so goes the market, right? Because look at the market cap of something like Microsoft. Look at the market cap over there of, something like Amazon, Google, Apple. These are the stocks that really matter. These are the stocks that are going to move markets. Wells Fargo, a couple of the other banks are in here, and on and on. Clearly, I like looking at the S&P 100. Now, the point of me recording this early is, what have I seen that I haven't seen, okay, since the election? The markets have been in an incredibly high bifurcated stance. That is, we've had some trading sessions in recent weeks where the S&Ps, okay, and I'll bring up the S&P 500 in this case, but we've had a few trading sessions where the S&Ps have been up drastically, right? This was like a Wednesday. The S&Ps exploded 30 points higher. And what a lot of people did not know and didn't even think to look at is, when the markets exploded higher, on any given day here, did you know that the S&P, okay, at points, it only really had like 65, maybe 70 at most, advancers over decliners? First of all, that's highly unusual. When markets are typically making large moves to the upside or to the downside, there is much more often heavy degrees of correlation. For example, in big rallies, right, it's very typical to see 85 stocks advancing. That's why we've called this a heavily bifurcated market. What we've seen lately is asset rotation, okay? And if you look at something like here, we'll come to the S&P 500. These are the different sectors themselves. Realize this is one of the first times that we have seen all 11 sectors declining at any portion of a trading day. As soon as you look at this, asset classes, they're no more like rotations. Where real estate's down and, for instance, utilities is up and, energy is up. We have 11 sectors down. In addition to the 11 sectors being down, okay, my initial stance over here, we haven't seen any recent trading days where we've had 80 decliners. Moreover, we haven't had any trading days really where we've seen 80 advancers, and that's even on days that the market has been up 30 points, okay? The question that looms today, has this bifurcated market just ended? On a holiday week when nobody really expected much of anything, I'm telling you, we've had points today where there's been 85 decliners, okay, throughout the course of the trading session, and we've seen nowhere near this. One of the things that we've been looking for in recent trade to see if markets have quote unquote normalized is just this. We've been looking for the bifurcation to end. Today we just have a few odd stocks out that just happen to be effectively rallying. But we're not, again, in any way, shape, or form seeing near the bifurcation that we did. And we're getting a much higher correlation. It'll be interesting to see as today progresses. Regardless if we rally today, whether we sell off, right? We are still seeing the advanced decline line in a much heavily correlated state versus anything, okay, since the presidential election. And it's extremely notable, okay, on what is supposed to be a quiet week. Again, this week, I didn't think I'd be doing too many market updates over here. This matters, okay? This absolutely matters. Have we normalized again in a week that we expected absolutely nothing ultimately to occur? In addition to it, I run a scan, and I'll explain this scan over here and exactly what it means, and we'll look at it in future days, okay? This is a scan that I'm running in the S&P 500. And I'm looking for price correlation. I'm looking for a positive correlation to the SPX between 80 and 100%. Now, I want you to think about this. I'm only looking for correlation at this point, all right, above 80%. 80% plus correlation. Now, the best correlation you could have is 100% correlation, right? It's basically moving at a 1-for-1 with the S&P. Here, I'm just looking for greater than 80% correlation over the last, this says 10 bars, but this is set to days. So over the last 10 days. You know what's insane? 23 products. That's it. Only 23 stocks in the entire S&P 500 have greater than 80% correlation over the last 10 days. That is incredibly low. 23 stocks in the entire S&P 500 have a better than 80% correlation. And yet today, just in the S&P 100, this is today, we have 80 stocks, okay, that are actually moving in a positive correlation. That's the point to be made over here, okay? Think about it, because again, the moment we see heavier correlation, forget it. The presidential, elect rally, it's over. It is absolutely over. And this could very well be the turning point today on a seamlessly, quiet day coming out of nowhere. We're seeing the end of the bifurcation. By the day's end over here, doesn't matter whether we rally, whether we sell off. We just want to look for the return of correlation coefficients to the market. Stay tuned. We're going to have a lot more coming up on just this very topic in the days to come. Join me all throughout the rest of the course of this week here in TheoTrade chat room. I'm Don Kaufman. Thanks everybody for joining us here at TheoTrade. Have a great evening. Bye-bye.